Hey guys, today on Freedom Empowered, Mason and I are going to discuss Sears and their bankruptcy, how lunch can affect your success, and hit you up with some free think at the end. Enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone. Broadcasting again from Freedom Studios. As always, Nick and I, Mason, we're here to bring you another Freedom-packed episode. If this is your first time with us, thanks for joining. Thank whoever invited you, and go out there and return the favor and invite someone else. That's how we grow this community. And if you're one of the thousands of returning listeners, we're glad you're here, committed to achieving personal success, and it makes us feel good that what we're doing here is helpful and putting you on the right path. But for you first-timers, if you want to know what this show is all about, it could boil down to achieving personal success, but what we don't do is give you one way to get there. We show you many options. And so what that means is that we're not going to teach you how to achieve that big payday. Because for you, personal success might mean just living an independent life, being satisfied with what you have, and whatever else you need. So the way we're going to do this is through conversations about our personal interests, current happenings around the world, and some seemingly lucky success stories. We'll make connections and show you how freedom-empowered principles are embedded and correlated to pretty much every aspect of life.
Yeah, and the first one we'll start off with is Sears going bankrupt. So Sears, though once upon a time was a dominant chain, and it changed how Americans shopped and lived, but they just filed for bankruptcy. They're a very old company, 132 years old. And for the past couple of years, they've been struggling. You know what's been successful the past couple of years? Amazon. Yep. So
Everyone's favorite.
So they've been in debt for the past couple of years, and then the final straw was on Monday when they couldn't afford a $134 million debt. I don't see how you can't afford $134 million. You know what I mean, Mason?
Right. This chump change.
And then, and so Sears is just one of the many companies that have gone out of business in the era of Amazon.
I wonder when I hear this, I think about Blockbuster. Like, didn't Blockbuster go out of business overnight?
Yeah,
pretty much.
I think that was due to Netflix and Hulu and Redbox, but yeah.
Right. But my question is, there's these companies going out of business now. So if they had seen Blockbuster go out of business overnight, like, why didn't they suspect that maybe a similar thing would happen? Or were they just holding on and hoping?
I don't know. I really didn't see Sears coming.
But yeah, speaking of Amazon, it is everyone's favorite. I have a golf club coming in the mail now because my golf game's getting pretty decent, but the one thing I can't do is drive. So obviously, it's not my skill level that's the issue. It's my cheap club. So hopefully, this more expensive club will do the trick.
Yep. Every good golfer knows. Blame the equipment, not yourself.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy.
But back to the article. What wouldn't surprise me personally is if Kmart comes next, going bankrupt. I see that happening very soon, actually. I'm putting it on the board right now. Prediction of the year. Kmart will also go bankrupt. But, I don't know. So there's a couple of things from this article I wanted to discuss with you guys, or takeaways I got from it. Was one, no matter how big you get, Sears was a very large company for many and many years, you can always fall. So just don't get comfortable. Being comfortable is one of the worst things you could do. Because when a challenge or a challenger comes, like Amazon, you'll be caught flat-footed. You're going to be what you were in the lead. Now you're chasing from behind.
Well, I mean, that theory goes beyond just business. Anyone who's at the top, you have the target on your back. That's the same. I mean, just look at UFC. There's been a lot of big UFC fights in the past. There's a couple coming up, but everyone wants to get that title fight. If you are number one, everyone wants to fight you. Everyone wanted to fight Conor McGregor, and now you have Daniel Cormier. People are gunning for him. I don't know if Derek Lewis is going to beat him, but someone's coming for him. You can't be number one pound for pound and not expect people to be training exactly for you. It's like I never played football, but I know buddies that were really good at football, and in practice, they would pick their biggest rival and watch tape of just that team. Like, just that team, one position, and be like, in this team, in this one position, this is what their guy does, and this is how you're going to defend against it. You know what I mean? People are gunning. People are having board meetings saying, our biggest competitor is this. So I bet you Amazon is having board meetings saying, our biggest competitor is Walmart. How do we put them out of business? It's not always about improving yourself, which we know, which it should be, but sometimes it's how do you hurt the competition. And in business, I guarantee you that happens.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. Back to your sports analogy, for example, when the Patriots or any football team wins the Super Bowl, you can tell whether a team takes that Super Bowl win and they let it get to their head just because they were just the best that past year, and what teams come back even better. Even if they don't have the same roster, they come back even better and stronger.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah, and then another thing I want to talk about, which it's basically piggybacking off the first thing, is always improve. You always, yeah, you guys are probably tired of Mason and I talking about this, but I don't really give a shit. Always try to improve your life. Always be working towards improving, no matter how good you are. Someone's always coming after you, like we just said. And it's all aspects of life, really.
But to go back to Nick's very bold and blatant statement, it's true. Coaches repeat the same thing every time. What's the point of a coach? Yeah, they're teaching you some new techniques, but really what they're doing is there to motivate, and they're to drive the same basics into your head over and over again. And that's what we're doing, because I know there's someone listening to this show right now who isn't working on improving themselves, who loves the show, who's been thinking about it, but just isn't doing it. Me and Nick are your coaches, and we're going to keep saying it and keep pushing the idea that you need to start taking action. You need to continue to improve yourself. And we're always getting new listeners, so we're probably just going to keep mentioning it forever. But for those of you that are already improving yourselves, good job. You could do more, though, I'm sure. Until you're on the top, everyone can do more. There's always something else you can do.
Someone's always trying to take you down, so always got to improve yourself with more knowledge, more skills.
Right.
Even basic stuff like food. Eating healthier.
Definitely. Yeah. No, and that goes right into our second article. We're going to talk a little bit about ourselves here. We don't do it a lot, but we will. So a couple episodes ago, and it might have been like 10 episodes ago, I'm not sure, we talked about the basis of success and how to set yourself up with habits to make sure you're ready to take advantage of opportunities. Because that's one of the things is you can want it and you can be taking action, but if you're not the person that's capable and ready and able to take advantage of those opportunities, then you're just doing yourself a disservice. So one of the things we talked about was being healthy and proper nutrition, and we didn't emphasize it enough. Partially was probably because me and Nick were not practicing healthy habits back then, but we've made a change because we thought about what can we do to improve ourselves. It could be little, and it ended up being bigger than we thought. It was simply trying to be healthier. And before you make fun of us, trust me, Nick gets it all the time from some of his other friends. And we used to think the same thing before, making fun of vegans and vegetarians. Cucumbers have apparently cucumbers are the only vegetable that have a central nervous system so they can feel pain. So I don't know actually who doesn't eat a cucumber. What is it? What do you eat? If you don't eat vegetables, what do you eat?
Well, so are cucumbers vegetables or fruits?
No, they're definitely vegetables,
Are you sure they have
but
seeds?
I don't know what the distinction is between a vegetable and a fruit.
I'm not sure.
I
Any of
saw
our
this one.
listeners, if you know the answer, shoot us a message.
I saw a meme once that said, "Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad." I don't know. There's something we can, that's a good free thinking topic, wisdom versus knowledge. But save that for another day. But yeah, you know, I think people talk shit because they feel a little bit insecure that you're taking action and they're not. Because honestly, I mean, we can all agree that nutrition and what you eat benefits you. Being healthy benefits you. Like eating healthy foods helps you out overall. I think we can agree on that. So why do people talk shit on people for being healthy? I think it's because they low-key wish they could be healthier themselves, but they just have nowhere near the discipline to actually do it. I don't know. And
Well,
even
well, like part of people being insecure, I think if you break it down even farther back than that, it's also, I guess, the mindset. Like, so people who make the decision to go from unhealthy to healthy, that's like a whole mindset, like just to do it, because you're now saying no to something you enjoyed and trying to, I guess, take away less fun from your mouth. Your mouth likes to have fun.
mouth. I think we were watching a nutritional video with Joe Rogan or just something when he was talking about it, and I think he called it the mouth pleasure.
Mouth pleasures.
Don't give in to the mouth pleasure. But yeah, and here's the thing. Talked about vegans, vegetarians. Me and Nick are not. We're not crazy. And maybe that's one of the things that pushes people from being healthy is they see all these people that are health nuts and they're out there eating, crazy stuff that is not delicious in any manner. And that's not the case. There's a balance. You can be healthy.
I also feel like there's this misconception that being healthy means you have to be vegan or vegetarian.
That's basically what I was just saying.
Well, I know. I'm just saying, but like a lot of the people who are vegans, vegetarians do it for, animal cruelty and all that.
Oh, right.
But like at the end of the day, you can eat meat and be just as, or if not more healthy.
Yeah, you're right. That's wild. I don't even. Do you think it'd be easier to be a vegetarian because of moral reasons versus health reasons? I think that, okay, health reasons, I want to be healthy. I want to live longer. I want to do myself, a service. I can understand that motivation, but I don't know. It's got to be hard to change your eating habits based off of how you feel about animals, knowing that it doesn't matter that you don't eat 1 pound of beef because hundreds of millions of pounds of beef are still getting eaten every day. So what's the point?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I find nothing morally wrong with eating meat. So this is just my mindset for the whole thing. It's survival of the fittest, uh, prey and predator. I think we're at the top of the food pyramid, so I think we could eat whatever we want.
So you would
What we do with them, I think it's okay.
so you would eat like
That's
a
my.
tiger or something?
If tigers are delicious, yeah.
Only one way to find out.
Are they low in carbs?
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, so what I'll talk about is that it works. Right. That's really the only reason why we're mentioning this. We're not mentioning it because we want to show you that we're doing something cool, because there's a lot of things that you might try that might not work out. But the thing is that this actually helped. Like, I know I'll give you one of my low points. I like Taco Bell. I've literally got a Taco Bell, spent 20 bones there, and just forced burritos down my throat until I literally fall asleep where I sit. And I mean, that might be a little exaggerated, but also not so much. I don't know. Nick probably has done some similar things. You got anything, Nick?
Well, yeah. I don't know. Before I started this, I think the last time I had broccoli was over 5 years ago. The last time I had cauliflower was even longer than that. I don't know, just vegetables in general. I didn't eat vegetables much at all, but lately I've eaten a crap ton.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel a lot more energy, a lot more focus. Like I I personally have been getting more shit done. I my new routine is I write down a list at the beginning of the day or the night before what I need to get done. And I just feel like I have the energy to complete my list.
Right.
I have the energy to get shit done.
And one thing, I'll give you one tip. Get yourself a blender and make fruit smoothies. You can get frozen fruits, all different kinds, tropical berries, blueberries, whatever. You put it in your blender with some peanut butter, some honey, put a little milk in there. It's better than ice cream. I honestly think it tastes better than ice cream, and it's good for you. Just give it a try. Even if you're not ready to buy into the whole eating vegetables thing, try making yourself a delicious fruit smoothie. And at least start doing that. But yeah, taking it to the next level, as always, Joe Rogan, me and Nick are fans. I know some of you out there might not be fans, but I honestly find the dude interesting. Part of it is from a freedom empowered perspective, he is successful in wildly different fields. And that interests me because that shows a little bit of freedom of thought, freedom of action, and it shows that he's really doing what he wants when he can get out there and do different fields. He's a comedian, born and raised. He is the only guy who gets to talk to UFC fighters in the ring. And he has the most famous podcast, I think, on the air.
Yeah, he's for sure top 3.
And he also does cool things. He bow hunts. He does all this nutrition stuff. And he also has a strict workout regimen and a bunch of other things that he really does. If you really want to, this is the thing. This is why a lot of people don't like what he does, whether they say he's a bad comedian or they don't like some part of what he does. It's not about what people think. It's about what he thinks. And that's what intrigues me. It's not so much that he's doing what I want to do or that I think everything he says on his podcast is right. But what intrigues me is that he is doing what he wants. And you can definitely tell and definitively tell. And he also has huge interest with learning. And if you want to talk about learning, I'm going off on a tangent here, but if you want to talk about, we've talked about learning being, it's not just book smarts, it's not some boring school stuff, but learn to enjoy learning. Start enjoying it. And that's what he does. All the people he brings on his show are people in wildly different fields. He's brought on professional hunters. He's brought on Neil deGrasse Tyson to talk about space. He's brought on all sorts of people, and he's intrigued by it and he learns from it. And everyone else who listens to his show is also intrigued by the diversity of people that he brings on and the different things that they can learn from it. So there you go right there. You don't have to just learn calculus and chemistry. You can learn about space. You can learn about nutrition. You can learn about MMA, anything. But that's my tangent on learning. But back to it. I guess, well, what I was going to say is he's a big advocate for deer and elk meat. He said that he can taste the survival instincts and work ethic in the meat. I don't know if that's true, but he says it is.
If you eat the animal, you become the animal.
Right. I mean, I can kind
what you eat.
of, when I eat the vegetables, I can hear the cucumber screaming as I eat it. Is that normal?
I don't know. Do you believe they have a nervous system?
Is it what I believe, or is it what actually is? All right, that's too much for right now. Continue that later. But yeah, so one of the things that Joe Rogan had on his show was he was having a conversation with a buddy, and they started talking about nutrition, and the guy was talking about how he would go from fat to thin over the years. He would blow up in weight, get super fat, whether he had an injury or just lost motivation, and then he'd be like, oh, I'm fat, and then lose it or try to lose it, and it would be like this yo-yo thing where he'd go back and forth. And I'm sure some of you have done it. I know I've done it before. And then he said, well, I'll remember this conversation next time I'm cramming pizza in my face. And then Joe Rogan said, well, why don't you just not do that ever again? It's all about control. And that's kind of what we're going to transition into our free thinking portion here, talk a little bit about discipline and control and just about how resilient are you really? And I think you'd be surprised to know the answer. You just don't want to think about it. I mean, let's pose the question. You don't do meth. Some of you might, but for the most part, we can lay a basis that people don't do meth normally, right? Why don't you do it? Why don't you do meth, Nick?
Because I feel like I'd go crazy.
Right. Because it's...
I just won't do it. I just won't.
How about because it's bad for you? Because we've decided that for either health reasons, mental reasons, or just the fact that it takes control of your life through addiction, it's not the best choice, right? So if you have the control to not do meth, why can't you have that same control for other things? And this is the point. There's people that do meth. So there's people that don't have enough control not to do meth. And there's people that don't have enough control to eat healthy or to take action in their daily life. So what's the variable here? Is it the thing that you're doing, or is it your level of control? And that's kind of what we're talking about here is instead of focusing on the activity by saying, hey, well, it's meth, or hey, it's just a pizza. You know what I mean? Instead of focusing on the subject, focus on yourself. That's what we're talking about here, is that self-control. If you just have a mentality of, I'm going to be in control of my actions, and I'm going to be disciplined, and I'm going to make decisions that are the best interest of my well-being, then you can sit down and say, okay, I've identified that I need to eat healthy because right now I'm overweight or I'm seeing some negative health reactions, and I've identified that I want to be healthy. And if you have that control, you can switch out the subject with anything. You can put any activity, any goal in the place of that and apply your self-discipline to achieve it. I mean, what is stopping you from being healthy? I can give you some positives right here. Yeah, you might not be able to eat pizzas and cheeseburgers anymore, but I'm telling you, you're going to feel better. And here's another thing. After 2 weeks, that's the average time to build a habit. So after 2 weeks of, I guess, quote unquote, forcing yourself to eat healthy, you've created a habit. And then it just gets easier from there. And then another 2 weeks go by. And before you know it, you're eating healthy and having good nutrition for a month and 2 months and now for the rest of your life, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people just give in to that instant gratification. They just, like, they know what they need to do. They tell themselves, all right, this is what's best for me. But they, like, I think, back to the meth idea, people get addicted to meth and all that crazy jumbo. People get addicted to fast food. You get addicted to that shit food because it tastes good. Same reason why people get addicted to meth,
And
because it feels good.
well, it's not just psychological, it's physical too. People don't realize that. But with the whole, your insulin levels and your glycogen levels, there's a whole science behind it. And we don't need to talk about it right now because I don't really know all the science. But when you stop eating horribly uh, bad foods for you that are high in sugar, high in fats, high in things like that, you actually feel the difference. You'll feel slight withdrawal because your brain's like, where's that instant gratification? Where's this, I mean, let's take it back 500 years. You'd go out there and you'd find uh, like, maybe you found a mango tree while you were hunting and gathering, and you get all that sugars right there, and your brain's like, wow, this is awesome. This is a reward. But now you can just go to the store and buy a gallon of apple juice and chug it and get all that sugar, and now people are just hooked on it.
Yeah, like, like, the way I see it is like, if you're gonna, if you want some sugary drink, make your own orange juice. Don't put some
Yeah,
artificial sugar in it. You know what I mean? Like, eat some fruit and drink some water. There you go. You got your fruit juice.
there we go. And one of the biggest parts about this, let me phrase it like this. If you're A lot of people, I think, choose not to focus on nutrition because they're like, hey, what does it really matter? It's just food. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And you might be right. Like, there's probably a lot of things out there that they go, oh, well, I'm not doing drugs, so what does it matter if I don't eat very healthy? I'm doing all right in a couple other different things. Well, look at it from a control perspective. If you can take control of your diet, you just took control of one of the biggest parts of your life. And as Jocko Willink says, discipline is freedom. Think about it. Everyone's trying to achieve a goal. They have, whether it's work or it's sports or whatever it is, they have something that they're focusing on. And then that's the one thing that they're focusing on, basically. And the question is, what is that? 20% of your life? Why not be disciplined as a person? Just be a winner overall. Don't just try to win at something, but be a winner. If you take control of the other 80% of your life, those trivial habits that you think don't really matter, nutrition, your lifestyle, your sleep schedule, patterns, your just every little thing, keeping your room clean. That's 80% of your life right there, is those trivial tasks. And you might not think they're important, but if you can take control of that and be disciplined, you just created the habits to easily apply it to that other 20%, that stuff that matters, whether it's work or sports or whatever your goal is.
Yeah, like, if you don't have the discipline to better yourself in these small tasks, you really don't have control of your life. Because if you don't have the discipline, you're literally letting that small little thing take control of your life.
Right.
You're saying McDonald's has more control of your life just because you're gonna get McDonald's instead of eat something healthier.
Right. And how many people really feel good after eating McDonald's? I don't know.
I just want our listeners to think about that. Ronald McDonald has more control of your life than you do.
Yes. That's, you know what I mean? It's like a religion to some people.
It's
Don't
it's just something that I want them to think about. Like there's something. It's more, you get more gratification from controlling your own life than you will from that instant gratification.
Right. Just sit, yeah, everyone just think about your life and how many things in it do you kind of wish you could change? How many things you're like, I wish I didn't do this. I wish I did this. How many little things can you identify right now that you just every day think, well, maybe next week I'll change this or I'll change that. And you don't. They own you. Those little things own you. Does YouTube own you? And that's why you sleep 4 hours a night and then are tired all the next day? Take control. Be disciplined. Set yourself free. Set yourself a schedule, a pattern and that's one of the biggest parts of this freedom. And Jocko gets into specifics and says, if you can create a lifestyle pattern, and for him it's a schedule. So he'll wake up at 4 and get his workout in at 4. So by 6, he's done working out. He's already ate breakfast and he's up and he gets to spend time with his family for a couple hours before he goes to work. You know what I mean? You open up your schedule. You allow yourself to have the discipline to control your life, to build a schedule so you can put things that actually matter to you in there instead of saying, all right, now I've spent 8 hours watching YouTube videos. Now how am I going to fit in spending time with my family and getting my work done? Then you have to start cutting out things that are important. So first, just cut out all the things that aren't important.
Well, it's one of the reasons why we push doing your own thing rather than working a 9-to-5 job, working for someone else, and them telling you what to do. You have control. You have the power to decide your own schedule. You have the power to decide when your vacation days are. You don't have to ask for permission to go spend time with your family.
Right. And that's one of the biggest points right there is it's amazing to do your own thing and have the opportunity to build your own schedule. But you have to have the discipline to do it. You don't want to quit your job to build your own business, but not have the discipline to go to work because you don't have anyone holding you accountable, and then it fails and you go bankrupt. And then who are you going to blame for that? You
can't blame Amazon. Sears already took that.
Yeah, Sears already blaming Amazon. So now who are you going to blame? But that's the point. It's doing your own thing and creating a life of freedom. It gives you massive opportunity, but it also presents potential risks if you don't have the life habits and skills and mental fortitude to motivate yourself, to be proactive, to take action on your own without being given a set of tasks from your employer. And maybe that's why people choose to work, because they don't think they can do it on their own, because they don't have the self-discipline. I don't know what it is.
I don't know either. But when it comes to the self-discipline, that's something you got to work on. That's something you got to flip that switch in your head saying, I got to take control. I got to get some discipline.
Right. And for all of you who look at one of your idols or someone that you envy and wish that you could be like, and you say, well, How did they get there? I think when you look at someone who's crushing it big time, maybe it's an actor, maybe I've heard the examples of The Rock. I've heard examples like, Conor McGregor, these types of people, Elon Musk, how to get there. And then and then what happens is you don't go for your dream maybe because you think that I can't ever get that high. You have to realize that they didn't do it overnight. They did it one action at a time, and it all starts with taking the first step. So for those of you that feel like your life is just so convoluted right now and you're just so out of control that you can't achieve that goal, that huge goal, you can. Just start with one thing. Just fix one thing. Fix one little thing. What if it starts with nutrition? What if the first thing you do is eat a salad tonight? Maybe that's the first action you take. What if eating a salad is the first action you take to set off a chain reaction that pushes you into achieving your wildest dreams? I mean, you look at Genghis Khan, who, if you guys don't know, he was the Mongol leader when they owned the entire known world. And when he was born, just like every other human, couldn't even feed himself. 14 years later, he had 4 wives and owned half the world. If he can conquer the world in 14 years, what can you do throughout the course of your lifetime? A fish only grows to the size of a tank they're in. You're only going to grow as far as you're willing to learn and as big as you're willing to set your dreams. Yeah. You got to have big dreams in order to have big success. But anyways, guys, as always, love talking to you. Really, really drains us when we talk because we get very excited. Right, Nick?
Yeah, it's always a good time.
But it is always a good time. I feel like I learn something every time. I feel like I uncover something new, and I really just would like to thank you guys for continuing to listen. And if you want to get more involved, hit us up on Facebook, join our Facebook group, or send us a private message. The more interactive we become, the better. I want this community to grow and grow and grow so we can have just a huge network of freedom thinking individuals. But anyways, thanks again and keep up the hard work.